Okay, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Ranjan. Okay, and I'm a full stack developer with the expertise in Angular and front end stuff. And I've been working in Angular from 2016. Okay, and I've been providing training in Angular from last 3 years. From 2017, I have started providing training in Angular. Prior to that, I was providing training in .NET MVC and all. So overall, have been providing training from 2014. Okay. I hope I'm being audible, right? Are you facing any issue to hear me out?
No.
My voice is
No,
clear, right?
yeah, clear.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, why we are here today, right? We are here to attend this demo session in Angular, right? So whenever we are trying to learn any new technology, so these are the questions we normally ask ourselves or we ask to people, right? So let's say in today's session we are here to understand what is Angular and all. So these are the questions we are going to ask, right? What is Angular, where to use it, or when it got started, why to use Angular, how to use it, and who is going to use it, right? The who part is obviously us because that is why we are here, and the what part, where part, all these questions we are going to answer in few in these topics and all. Okay, so the how part is going to be the lengthier one because that is what we are going to understand how to use it, right? So let us first answer the question: what is Angular, right? What is Angular? Angular is a platform and framework for building single-page client applications using HTML and TypeScript. Yes, this line is looking is it is looking very easy to read, but let us understand it in detail. Okay, so Angular is basically a JavaScript framework. Okay, so in order to create web applications and mobile applications. Okay, this is a
Okay.
JavaScript framework in order to create, which help us to create web applications and mobile applications. So what is happening here is no, earlier Uh, earlier, when web started, it was only pure HTML. Okay, only HTML it was there. After that, the server-side technologies came into picture. HTML was providing us the read-only websites, right? Only the read-only information was being shared using HTML. But in after this HTML was popular, internet was popular, websites become popular. There were other things introduced also, like CSS and JavaScript got introduced, and there are server-side technologies got introduced. So JavaScript was initially doing what? Initially, it was just helping us to do some validations by manipulating or reading the DOM elements. Okay, so what majorly JavaScript was doing, it was manipulating the DOM, the document object model, right? When I say document object model, I mean that any HTML document, any HTML page. What happens here is whenever it loads, JavaScript analyzes the structure of the page. So that tree structure of the page, any HTML page is basically a tree structure, right? It is in a tree structure. So JavaScript analyzes that tree structure and it notes it down. Based on that, whenever we write some code, let's say you guys have some knowledge in JavaScript, right? I hope that.
Yeah.
And what about you, Suresh?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, by writing the JavaScript syntaxes, for example, document.getElement by ID and all. So we are doing what? We are basically identifying any DOM, some DOM element based on its ID. There are some other syntaxes as well, right? So what basically we are doing is we are reading the elements from the DOM and we are manipulating it. Okay, that is what we have been doing using JavaScript. Then the next concept got started. The server-side technologies also came into picture, which help us to provide dynamic data. Okay, uh, so using that, that is the reason when we started to get dynamic data, it became popular. Like the web applications became popular. All these server-side technologies like .NET, Java, they came into picture and they captured the dynamic website market, right? And apart, so if you see any website in the world, how it works is it's basically worked on HTTP request, right? So from the HTML from the browser, the user whenever user does something, when it navigate from one page to another, basically HTTP request is sent from the browser to the server. Based on that the web applications work, right? Then coming to JavaScript introduced a new feature called XML HTTP request. That is for asynchronous HTTP request. We started to use it, right? So that changed the game altogether, because earlier what was happening, all the HTTP requests were synchronous in nature. So until one HTTP request is complete, okay, the page will be loading in the loading state, right? You won't be able to do anything in the page until the time that request gets complete. But when JavaScript introduced this XML HTTP request feature, okay, the HTTP request can be done asynchronously. That is the reason JavaScript became extremely popular and people started to write extensive JavaScript. And that is how all this, because JavaScript was started to be used extensively, people started to create JavaScript engine. Okay, people started to create JavaScript engines in it. JavaScript libraries in it. So like libraries like jQuery and all became popular because of the extensive use of JavaScript. Okay, then people started to think in the direction. Okay, why not have all the features implemented? So basically, what is happening? HTML is for the browser side, and JavaScript was supporting it. Then people and server side technology was providing the HTML and JavaScript in the response. People started to think in the direction, okay, why not use JavaScript for the whole front end part? Okay, why not use JavaScript for the whole front end part? That is how the the revolution to start using JavaScript as a front end framework came into picture. Okay, that is how it started, like JavaScript as a front end framework. People started to think in that direction. Okay, one more factor which affected creating the JavaScript frameworks was this thing, your mobile application. If you think about any mobile application, okay, so let's say you are using Facebook or Twitter in your mobile app, in your Android device or iOS device. What basically you are doing when installing the application of that before even starting to use the application for the first time, right? That means what? When you are installing the application in your device, in your Android device, what basically you are doing? You are basically downloading all the code that is required to run this application. That means the HTML and that means the UI code and the code which is going to control the UI. Everything is being downloaded to your mobile device before even starting to use the application, or before even starting to use that application for the first time. After that, whenever you require some data, your application will contact the backend service, the RESTful service, in order to get that data from our application or for the application. Right? That is how it works. So because of this reason, because everything is already available, all the UI code, UI and its controlling code is already available in your browser. Okay. Uh, uh, I'm just muting everyone. If you have any queries, just unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. That will help us to have like less background noise. So if you have any queries, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. And now coming back to the example what I was talking about. Okay, mobile applications. That is the reason actually, because it provided a better user experience. Okay, because everything, all the UI and its controlling code is already available in your device before even starting to use it. And just for the data part, you are making a call to the RESTful API service, right? RESTful service API. So what happens is it provides better user experience to the user. Okay, it provides better user experience to the user. That is the reason mobile applications become popular, right? So people start, although because websites cannot work in the same way, right? Website is running in an application called browser, so we cannot just install the applications beforehand in the browser. But people started to take this inspiration from the mobile device and thought how we can implement, how we can simulate this kind of process. That is how this JavaScript framework or the single page application framework came into picture. Okay, so I coined a new term called single page application. Okay, this single page application or SPA. What does that mean is, okay, let's say you are trying to access a website called abc.com. Okay, so for the abc.com, ultimately whatever you are seeing in the browser, that is basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So everything, all the code that is required to run this application in the browser, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it will be downloaded to the client's browser or the user's browser first time when the user is trying to access that website. This is very important. When so let's say you are trying to access a website called www.abc.com. So whenever you are trying to access that website for the first time, all the code that is required to run the application in the front end. When I say run the application in the front end, what do I mean? Basically, all the page navigations, everything, a page navigation, authentication, authorization code, everything, and all the HTML pages, HTML that need to be displayed. So you will ask how the HTML will be downloaded to the browser. So what happens is, because this single page applications uses JavaScript framework, so this JavaScript frameworks help us to convert all the HTML code into JavaScript basically. I will show it how in the longer run. I will show how it is basically converting our JavaScript code, HTML code into JavaScript. So for now, when I'm saying all the HTML that is required to be displayed in the client's browser, it will be converted into JavaScript and will be downloaded to the client's browser first time when the user is trying to access that website. When that means what? When I'm saying all the HTML is being converted into JavaScript and getting downloaded to the client's browser, that means what? That means all the code that is required to run this application is basically already present in our client's browser first time before the application is being used in that particular browser or in that particular session. Okay, that means what? Now, even if the user is trying to navigate between pages, already the code is available, already the HTML code is available in the browser. So it will just pick that HTML piece from the JavaScript. It will pick that piece of HTML that is stored in JavaScript. It will construct the HTML and just display it. That means because already the HTML is available, the user experience is going to be better compared to the server-side technologies. Earlier, what was happening in the server-side technology, in the runtime, the HTML required for that particular page to be displayed was being downloaded from the server. But here, what is happening? Already it is available in the browser only, right? It is just a matter of time because the code is going to run in my browser and it is just going to pick that JavaScript and construct the HTML and will display the HTML. So that makes it easier to render, right? Compared to downloading it from the internet, right? Because when you are downloading the content using HTTP request from the server, that is going to take longer time compared to compared to render the HTML which is already available in the browser, right? That is why the user experience started to become like very good. Okay, user started to the user's experience is much better compared to 10-15 years back. The websites when we are using 10-15 years back, compared to that, the current situation of user experience of the web browsing is much more better. Okay, that is the reason actually the single page application architecture it became popular. Okay, we will discuss about single page application architecture in a detail. Okay, any questions so far? Are you being able to understand what this single page application architecture means?
Yes, Ranjan.
Okay, so so all the modern day technologies, okay, all the modern day technologies are using single page application architect, or all the modern day applications, whatever popular applications you will be seeing in the market now, Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, everything is using single page application architecture now. Okay, so what happens here is, if you notice nowadays, all the websites, whatever you are seeing here, like the Facebook, Twitter, everything you are seeing, okay, if you are trying to navigate between pages, if you are trying to see the post, if you are trying to go to the timeline of a friend, everything, that is, if you notice, the page is not getting reloaded nowadays, right? Yeah, the page is not getting reloaded, just the content is getting refreshed. That means what? All the code is already available in your browser, that is required to run this application. There is, it's not that simple, it's not that there are certain other ways we do. Let's say you are trying to access for a particular module, that particular module will be downloaded on demand, so we configure that in our application when we develop it. Okay, those things are part of this course, how we can lazy load the modules. Okay, but more or less the funda is same. Basic set of code which is required to run this application, basic set of HTML that needs to be, that the user is going to see, everything will be downloaded in the first time in that particular session. Okay, so it's what I say, single page application. So this Angular is basically a JavaScript framework which follows the single page application architecture. Okay, and Angular is a product of Google. Okay, and now with the Angular, what is happening is, our application is basically, earlier there was only one server side application, server side technology application, which was providing the front end as well as the back end. But now what is happening with the Angular, we are doing the front end part using Angular, and the back end, for the back end part you may choose Java, .NET, PHP, Node.js, everything, any back end technology you want. Okay, so uh, now coming to, as I said, Angular uses the single page application architecture to build the application. Okay. Here, what is happening in throughout our application, we are going to have only one HTML page which is going to be loaded in the browser. That popularly is called as index.html. We'll see why we call it index.html and all. Okay. And all other HTML that is going to be displayed in the browser. Okay. All other HTML that you will be seeing in the browser. Okay, everything is going to be converted into JavaScript and will be rendered back from the JavaScript. It will be constructed into the HTML one more time when the user is trying to access it. Okay, so mostly your application is basically depending on JavaScript here. Okay, so when I say this Angular application, so basically Angular, as I said, coming to the first line, Angular is a platform and framework for building single page client applications using HTML and TypeScript. So I will be coming to TypeScript in a moment, but ultimately end result is, it is going to create the application. It is going to run the application using simple HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Because my browser do not understand any other technology, not even the .NET, Java, no other technology my browser understands. Okay, it only understands HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Because to understand and interpret and work on use any technology and get the output, we need an interpreter or compiler, right? So in the browser we have predefined HTML interpreter, we have predefined CSS interpreter, and we have predefined JavaScript compiler, that we popularly call it as JavaScript engine. Okay, so when I say JavaScript engine, each browser is pre-built, inbuilt. It has its own inbuilt JavaScript engine. Okay, so if you see in Google Chrome we have V8, in Internet Explorer we have Chakra. So what happens is, JavaScript is controlled by a organization called ECMA, or European Computer Manufacturers Association. So when whatever new syntax is to be introduced in JavaScript, ECMA introduced that. So sometimes we call it as ECMAScript also, ECMA script. Okay, we call JavaScript as popularly as ECMAScript also. So the JavaScript versions are not like JavaScript 1, 2, 3. These are called ECMAScript 1, ECMAScript 2, ECMAScript 3, like that. So the ECMAScript 5 was the most popular one, and it was the major release. After that, ECMAScript 2015 was the major release. So ECMAScript 6 was named as ECMAScript 2015. Okay. Now, coming back to the prerequisites, what we need to understand before starting to learn Angular. Okay, because in the current market there is a huge demand in the Angular technology, right? If you have most of the companies, most of the recruiters are asking for a full stack, or if you are having any front end framework, that is kind of a must. Okay, they are going to ask what front end technology you are having knowledge on. Okay, So in order to start learning Angular, you need to have what are the prerequisites to understand it. You need to have the knowledge in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, you need to have knowledge on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in order to start learning it. If you have any object-oriented programming concept knowledge like C Sharp or Java or C++, that is going to definitely be an added advantage. The reason for that is, okay, we are going to use a language called TypeScript in this course. Okay, although the application is going to run in JavaScript, so what do I mean then by TypeScript? So TypeScript is basically a programming language derived by Microsoft, which we can think it as a superset of JavaScript. But as I said, my browser do not understand anything apart from JavaScript. Okay, everything we are going to write in TypeScript, it ultimately is going to be converted. It is going to be transpiled into plain JavaScript only. Okay, it is going to be converted into plain JavaScript by the TypeScript compiler. So that is the reason, because the TypeScript is a kind of a object-oriented programming language. It is having class-based object orientation and all. That is the reason, if you have some object-oriented programming knowledge, that is going to be the added advantage. But must you need to have knowledge on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript just to start learning this technology. Okay, and don't worry about TypeScript and Angular. I am not expecting you to have any prerequisite knowledge of Angular or TypeScript, because that is what we are going to learn here. Okay, we will be understanding TypeScript. We'll be understanding the Angular in this throughout this course. So, what are the things we are going to understand in this particular course? Okay. Uh, First of all, we are going to understand the core features of Angular. Okay. In this course, we are going to use the Angular version 11. That is the latest version which is available in Angular. Okay, we are going to learn that. But no matter the version, if it's not like you have to learn Angular 2 first, then you have to learn the Angular 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. It do not work like that way. Okay, the core concepts are going to be same, no matter you started working in Angular 2 or you are working in Angular 11. Okay, the core concepts are going to be same. Yes, there are few syntaxes here and there they introduce in the new releases. It's not like it's not a wholesale change from the lower version of Angular to the upper version of Angular, and all the versions are backward compatible only. Okay, and uh, yes, there are some major releases, but not from the syntax point of view. It's not like a major syntax change in the lower version, from the lower version to the upper version. There, I will discuss about what are the things they did in the major releases. But it's not a syntactically major release. Okay, syntax there. It's not like a wholesale syntax change in the Angular versions. Okay. So what are the core features we are going to understand? First of all, we'll be understanding how the Angular application loads in the browser, right? How the Angular application loads in the browser and all. Okay, that is what we are going to do. That is when I say the Angular application architecture review, we'll be understanding the application architecture, how it loads and how it works in the browser. And what do I mean when I said no, all the HTML code is HTML and the controlling code, TypeScript code is going to be converted into JavaScript and will be loaded into the browser. We'll be seeing that. Okay, we'll be seeing that how it works actually. Okay, then the other core features of the Angular application are components, types, directives, and services and dependency injection. These are the other core features. We will be understanding it over a period of time. Okay, and apart, these are the core building blocks actually. Any Angular application is basically consists of these four items. Okay, apart from that, there are other important aspects, important features of our application. So the data binding, routing, forms. So when I say form, obviously you need to have forms in your application where you need to capture the user's information, user's input. So we in Angular we have couple of types of forms like template-driven form and reactive form, and there are various features, various aspects in that. So we'll be discussing all those things in detail. Okay, and what is going to how this course is going to be is it's going to be an interactive session. Okay, that means, and it's going to be a practical oriented session. It's not like I'm not going to give you a lot of theory. So what we will be doing is we'll be discussing the new concepts and we'll be implementing those new concepts in practical. Okay, immediately we'll be doing the practical scenario how we can implement it. Okay, and I'm going to create a small application in the beginning of this course, and I'm going to keep on adding features in that application over a period of time. Throughout this course, we'll be keep on adding features into that. So at the end of this course, we are going to have a small application, although it's not going to be a very large application, but it is going to have all the ingredients, okay, that is required to work in a enterprise level application. So in the enterprise application, it is going to be a bigger code size. Our application is not going to be that big in the size, but it is going to have all the ingredients required to you know work in a enterprise level application. You know we'll be doing practically we'll be calling the HTTP backend services, the RESTful APIs we will be calling, okay, and we'll be implementing routing, where we'll be implementing the main route, secondary route, child route, all those things. We'll be implementing what is required in a real-time application. We'll be understanding that, and we'll be using the .NET Web API for the backend integration. We'll be calling the .NET Web API from the Angular code to get the data from the backend database. Okay, and we'll be understanding about Angular modules, how we can split our application into multiple modules. Okay, apart from the core features, there are some other important features also. We are going to understand a topic called observables. So observables is going to help us to write asynchronous programming in our application. Will be this is although this is implemented by a library called RxJS. Although RxJS is a third-party library, okay, it is used extensively in Angular because the Angular's core libraries, they use RxJS observables extensively. Okay, that is the reason it is going to be a very important aspect of any Angular application. So we'll be understanding that in detail. Okay, and we'll be understanding about authentication and authorization, and we'll be implementing it practically. We'll be implementing the JWT, the JSON-based web token. We'll be implementing it in our application. So basically, the user need to sign in. Once the user sign in, the server is going to respond back with a token. And next time, whenever user is trying to access for the data, it is going to send it. It need to send the token back to the server, and server is going to validate the token. If the token is tampered or invalid, it is not going to return us data because it is going to give us error. And if the if the token is valid, then only we are going to get the data from the server. That is what we will be covering in the authentication and authorization part. Okay. Then we are going to understand a topic called Angular CLI, or we are going to understand it in the beginning itself. So Angular CLI is like what Angular command line interface. So it is a command line. It's the official command line utility, or to manage our application. So from creating the application into create, once we create the application, inside the application also, if you want to create a component, directive, service, or pipe, anything you want, Angular CLI is going to help us. As I said, it is a command line utility. So we are going to run some commands which will do the which will create the components directives easily for us in our application. Okay, and apart from that, it helps us to run the test cases. It is going to help us to create the build with the best practices. So those are the things Angular CLI is going to help us. Okay, so we'll be understanding that from the starting to beginning, starting to end. We'll be creating Angular CLI in our application. Apart from that, state management is a topic which is important for any application. Okay, we'll be understanding two different approaches of using having a state management in our application. One is the traditional approach, and second is using an extensive library called NGRX, which is having which is implementing the Redux pattern to do state management in our application. Okay, so we'll be implementing this NGRX. So this Redux pattern is used. React uses the Redux pattern, and Angular uses NGRX to do the implement the Redux pattern in our application. We'll be understanding about Redux pattern and how we can implement it. Okay. Apart from that, we'll be understanding about how we can lazy load the modules. Okay. So in order to provide better performance, we have to split our application into multiple modules, and uh, based on the user's demand, on demand we'll be loading the modules in our application. So that strategy we'll be discussing about in our application. Okay, and obviously then, as I said, we are going to write our application in using HTML and TypeScript. we'll be understanding about TypeScript language itself, because we are going to use it from the beginning to the end. Okay, we'll be understanding about this TypeScript language, and we'll be implementing, so any angle. So if you are creating any currently a modern application, okay, you need to have a good UI which is going to make your application look good. So in order to do that, we cannot do all the things on our own. Okay, we cannot implement all the rich UI on our own. So that is not going to be that easy to implement. Okay, in order to do that, we need to implement the UI library. Okay, we'll be implementing two different UI libraries in this course. One is Angular Material. Second is Prime Engine. So Angular Material is a UI library of Angular. This is the most downloaded UI library, the most used UI library in the Angular ecosystem. And the second number is in the second number, the second most downloaded UI library is Prime Engine. This is also becoming very popular nowadays. Okay, and we are going to if so, these are the things. If you want to have a rich user interface, these are the things it is going to help us to do. Okay, this chips and all. Okay, let's say you have this kind of things. Okay, date picker, all these rich UI items. So in order to implement a date picker, we can just use the Angular Material library. It is going to help us to implement a date picker with lot of customization available. So those kind of things, spinner, progress spinner, all these things are going to be, we are in a real-time application. We are going to take help of these UI libraries to implement these features in our application. So we are going to understand how we can implement this thing, how we can implement our Angular material in our application. So what is the best approach to do it, and we will do few examples in that. What few types of items we'll be implementing in our application. Similarly, we'll be integrating PrimeNG. PrimeNG is although currently it is the second most downloaded UI library, but it is having like lot of features. If you compare to the Angular materials, it is providing a lot of UI elements to the application. Okay, kind of if you think here it is like if you have a cascade drop down and things like that, it is going to help you. It is going to help you to do that. Okay, so if you see, this is actually providing a lot of features. Let's say this chips thing. Okay, uh, and things like that. So this is going to so if you are, why we need to use UI libraries, because if you want to implement this thing on your own, it is going to take a long time to implement it. It is not going to be that easy to implement. So that is the reason we use this kind of UI libraries. So these are not the only two UI libraries. There are others, but I have just picked the top two UI libraries which are available in the market. So we will implement both these UI libraries in our application. We'll see a few examples and what is the best approach to integrate it in our application. We'll be understanding that. Okay. Apart from that, so these charts and grids, these are the part of the UI library. We'll be understanding how we can implement unit testing in our application. So nowadays, with the insurgence of the agile methodology in development, a lot of companies they provide the CI/CD pipeline and all, right, to do the deployment. So and they have like processes like you have to write unit test cases when you are doing a deployment, when your content is integrated and deployed. At that time, we need to run unit test cases. That is what the most of the companies nowadays they are asking for. So what is going to happen is so that is the reason you need to understand how we can write unit test cases. Okay, so we'll be understanding how we can write unit testing in our application, and also we'll be doing .NET PWA integration with this Angular application. Okay, any questions so far?
Hi Ranjan, this is Umakant.
Yeah, Umakant. Hi.
So the course duration is what, and what is the time you are scheduling?
Currently, this batch I'm scheduling it for the weekend. Okay,
Mhm.
Saturday and Sunday,
Mhm.
and timing it's going to be from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
Okay.
And the course duration is going to be roughly around 35 to 40 hours.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, and as I said, it is going to cover most of the aspects which is required to work on any enterprise level application. It is going to cover all those aspects which are required. Okay, and I will just show you one of the application, and also uh, how I normally approach these courses is just a second. So for each of the sessions, okay, each of the sessions I create a repository where I put the code. If you start from here, these are the previous ones. But if you start from the recent ones, let's say the September 2020, so this is for the September batch, October batch. In December, I have like a couple of batches running. So for each of the batch, okay, I will create a GitHub repository because it maintains the history and all. Okay,
Yes.
so I'll be whatever code I'm doing in this course, I'll be just doing the commit in this particular GitHub repository, and I will share this GitHub details with you so that you will be able to see the history. Let's say if you see here in this last topic, we completed routing, right? So whatever we have done in the routing, this is basically you can see that history and what change we have made for that particular session or that particular concept, what changes we have made. You will be see the history like this. Okay, so
Okay.
things like that. Yeah. For each of the batch, it is going to be I'll be creating a repository like this. So let's say this is for the second batch in December. These are the commits we have done.
And Ranjan, one maybe a dumb question. What is extra in Angular 10 and 11?
What is the difference? That's
Yeah,
what you are.
that 7 to 11. What is
Yeah. So that is what. See, as I said, I think you did. I said it in the beginning when you did not join. I think. Okay. So what is happening is no, it's not like there is not a wholesale change in the syntax. Okay. Only thing is that they do some bug fixes. Actually, what is happening is, so if you think whatever syntax we are going to write in Angular, right? That is ultimately going to be interpreted and converted into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right?
right?
So some piece of code, some piece of mechanism which is doing that job for us, right? In the Angular framework. So that piece that is basically called the rendering engine.
Mhm.
So in Angular 2, with the first version of Angular, it's called Angular 2. So in the Angular 2, they had a separate, separate rendering engine, and in Angular 4, they have introduced a new rendering engine. And in Angular 9, that was the major release, they have introduced a new rendering engine. So, and after that, all these are if I say the major code syntax changes, before Angular 5, they used to have a HTTP client, HTTP service, which was helping us to write down the code, the backend code. I mean, integrating with the backend service. They have
Mhm.
introduced a new service called HTTP client service. I think that is one of the major code changes. Apart from that, there are no wholesale code changes. They will just introduce a few new syntaxes and not in the major releases only. In the minor releases like 10 or 11 or 8 or 7, there are no like major syntax changes. Okay. Most of them are the bug fixes after the major release. So let's say 9 was a major release, they have introduced a new rendering engine called Ivy. So that is a major release that was a good project for them. Okay. After that, this 10 and 11, if you see, the 10 was released in September,
Yes.
and 11 was released in December. December 9th, they have released this Angular 11. So within 3 months, if you think what syntax changes they will provide, it's not like a syntax change. Yes, there are some bug fixes and all. So it's not nothing to worry. So the core concepts are still going to be same from the beginning only. The core concepts. If you see this one, I created back in 2017, and this it's Angular 2 repository. Okay, if you see, kind of the structure is almost same from that point of time. But earlier, what was happening? In Angular 2, whenever we are creating any TypeScript file, you see the extension is .ts, right? So whenever we were creating any TypeScript file, it used to create couple of physically it used to create two different files named main.js, main.js.app. Similarly, for each of the TypeScript file, it used to do the same work. If you see app.module.ts, app.module.js.app, app.module.js. So those kind of things it used to do. But now, if you see any newer repository, if you see the compare the same main.ts in the new repository, which I have created recently. So this one, okay, this one I have created in Angular 11. If you see
Mm-hmm.
the package versions and all, everything is Angular 11 here.
Mm.
Okay, in Angular 11, if you try to compare the same, okay, same main.ts, if you try to compare, the main.ts is still here, but if you will not be able to see any main.js or main.js or samples kind of thing. So that is what it,
Library level they changed.
yeah, in the high level they change, in the lower level it's not
Okay.
that change. Okay, internally they used to change things. Okay, we do not need to directly do any changes in our application. So majorly what they change is how our application is going to run and what is the how we can improve performances and all. That is what they do internally in
Yes,
our
sir.
applications. And all the bug fixes, right?
Right.
So and so that is what we are going to do. So in each of the session, I'll be putting the code in the repository, and so that it will maintain the history. If you see the October batch, each of the session will become start from the beginning. These are like initial comment where architecture review, data binding, right? Directives, input output decorator, pipe examples, directive, custom directives, services, routing and observables, template-driven forms, reactive forms, then HTTP examples, authentication and prime engine install examples, authentication completed, NGRX, feature module and shared module, lazy loading of module.
Okay. Yes, Jyoti. It seems like it's a good typo.
The same for all the batches. It's not like so that helps to maintain the hierarchy or to maintain the history. And each of the session is going to be since so if you can see I'm just recording this session. Each of the session is going to be recorded, and I put the recording in YouTube. And how I do is I'm going to share a link like this. I'm going to share a link like this where we will be putting all the recorded session. So these are the three ongoing batches, and there are some older batches. Online training. So actually, due to this pandemic only, I started online training. Earlier, I used to only provide offline training. So that is the reason I do not have those recorded sessions and all, because it used to be the one-to-one session kind of thing. So these are the older batches which are completed already. This is the December batch which is ongoing. So you will be getting a similar site like this. Where all the recorded sessions are going to be put. minute. Let it load. So if you see, each of the session, the recorded recording will be uploaded into YouTube and is going to be embedded in this site. So this is going to be a so this helps you to do what in order to have a bird's eye view to the course, right? Let it load. It is going to take some time to load, I think. Let these things load. Okay. Meanwhile, let us see what is the application we are going to create. So we run this application. Okay. Okay. So this is going to be our application. So let's say currently if you see the user has not signed in, and if it is trying to access, it is not going to get the data. But once the user signs in, oh, I think I did not run the back API. I did not run it. Okay. Okay. After that only you will be able to get the details. So all these details are I'm fetching it from the backend only. Okay. See, I have four different students in the backend, and that is what I'm displaying it in the front end. Right. If I want to add a new student, let's say it is having like all these validations available also, and some dynamic validation also. Let's say by default the email ID which is mandatory. Let's say I've entered the this by default. Let's say the email ID is mandatory, but the mobile number is not. Okay, if I'm not entering the mobile number, it is not going to give me any error. But let's say the notification type I have selected it as mobile. Now my mobile number became mandatory. So what I'm doing here, and I'm dynamically applying the algorithm, right? So these kind of scenarios, everything there are a lot of scenarios. That is the reason you see the history, the commit history also. No, the reactive forms that took a long time.
Yeah, that form can be validated single wise and also by API also we can validate.
Yeah, yeah. So that is the reason if you see the reactive forms took the longest time to be completed because there are like that is the most important aspect in any application, not just Angular application,
Yes,
in
sir.
any web application. So we'll be doing those kind of things. So real time scenarios will be doing that in this thing. Okay, and if you want to add like I submitted it. If you see, it added a record in the backend, right?
Yes.
If you want to delete it, then also it is going to delete it from the backend. Okay. So all these things. So we'll be able to do it. We'll be doing it. If you are not having access, if you signed it out, then if you are trying to access for the students, it is not going to give you any data. But once you sign in, if you are trying to access, then only you'll be getting the data for those kind of things. So we'll be storing this data, straight in the NGRX store in our application, and all this navigation between pages and all, we'll be doing that in our application. Okay. If you notice, the page is not getting reloaded, right? That is what the benefit of using this single page application. Whenever I'm doing anything, even if the page is getting loaded, everything it is happening what it is happening without the page getting reloaded. Okay, so that is what we'll be achieving in this single page application. And meanwhile, let us I think these are loaded. These are the recorded sessions. So this is how I'm going to share the recorded sessions with you. You can just play. So you do not need to go for a individual sessions. This is carrying a list of elements, list of the sessions of our course. Okay, you'll just go to the site and you'll be just going to the site and I will be able to play it. Okay, you
Okay.
see, yeah. And I'm not going to delete these recordings. I'm not going to, this is going to be available with the student forever. I'm not going to remove the access or anything. So it will be available all the time. The user is trying to, student is trying to go through the recorded sessions after the course is complete. You may go through it. I'm not going to revoke the access or anything. It is going to be forever with you. Okay, that is the reason I'm just if you see, I'm just archiving the sites. I'm not deleting them. And this is the same for all the batches. If you see the history, it is the same for all the batches. This is for the first batch of December. This is for the second batch of December, and recently we started a new batch in January. So this one. We have just 3-4 sessions for them. So these are the older ones. This is the September batch. This batch is already completed, and if you see, all this recorded. And in the end of the course, I'm going to share the interview questions with you. So it's like I'm just going to put the interview question in this site only. So you just need to go through it. This is where you are going to get the interview questions, and you'll be able to compare almost all the things we have covered in this course. No, once you go through these questions, you'll be seeing that we have covered almost all the things in this particular course. So it is like having around 160 or 160 odd questions in which is going to help you to crack any Angular interview. So this is going to be provided. I'll be providing this to you, okay, as a reference. And same thing. This is the September batch which was completed in November, and this is the October batch which got completed in December. So the same thing here. All the sessions I'll be putting it here in your site, and the end I'll be putting the Angular questions, which is going to help you to crack your Angular interview. So more or less, this is going to how your course is going to be like. Okay, and currently this batch I'm looking for the weekend sessions. Okay, just provide me your feedback. How do you what do you think about this song, and okay, whether or not you want to continue going forward.
Sure, Ranjan.
Okay, and also for today's session also I'm going to put it in YouTube, and we'll share the link with you. Once the batch starts, then only we'll be uh, creating the site for the batch, and we'll be putting all the recordings in that particular batch site. Any questions so far?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask one question. That part day session, how many hours? It took 2 hours or 3 hours?
Weekend is going to be 3 hours, 3 to 3.5.
Can I reduce? Can we reduce to 2 hours, because 3 hours is much more time, and it is sometimes it's become.
We can take it. See, what is going to happen is, now, if you are going to do it as 4 hours, na, then in that session, in that way, it is going to take around 10 weeks, which is going to be more than 2.5 months, right? That is the reason. So we will take a break of 5-10 minutes. After one hour or 1.5 hour, we'll be taking a break, or no matter, we can take a break after 1 hour also. So every hour we can take a 5 to 10 minutes break, and so the more or less the total time will be 3 hours, or little more than 3 hours. So in that way we can complete the course in around 6 weeks. That is what.
Okay, 6 weeks. Okay.
So because we are doing it 2 days a week, right? So it is going to be 3 plus 3, 6 hours a week. So in that way, it is going to take 6 to 7 weeks, right? So which is roughly around 1.5 months.
Okay.
Okay. If you have any questions, just ping me. Okay, I will just I think Maitri spoke to you guys. I'll just ping you from my WhatsApp. Okay, if you have any questions, just ping me or call me at any time. I'll just give you my number and all. So my number is 70388. I'll just ping it here. The same is used in the WhatsApp also. Okay. Okay, then I think that's it. Then let us discuss and we'll see how it goes. Okay.
Thanks, Ranjan.
Yeah. Thanks.